No, Zoom hates me. So we are going to talk about leadership today because I feel like that's one of the hardest things. So I know for me personally, I struggled with leadership, and it's taking. I mean, I'm still working on it, obviously, but it's taken me a long time to kind of get the hang of it and believe in myself. So I decided today to do my own personal development, and I read How Successful People Lead. It's by John Maxwell. It's a really good book, and I want to go over parts of it with you guys just because it was so mind opening for me, and it really changes how I've been leading and how I want to lead. And I feel like with this team that we need to create leaders. So you guys need to be leaders yourself. You need to have that go down into your downline, because honestly, the most successful coaches on this team, right? The people who are 5 stars and the people who are changing their lives so much, they're all creating leaders. And in order to create leaders, we have to be leaders ourselves. So this is going to be probably a longer call than usual, but I just feel like it's really important for everybody. And then this only goes through about half of what I want to go over with you guys. So next week on the next call, I'll go over the second half. But that's pretty much what's happening. Okay. So how leadership works is really important to understand. And honestly, it's trial and error, just like everything else. Sorry, I got a message. But and we know how this is. It's the same with inviting, right? Everything's trial and error, but there's 5 levels of leadership that John Maxwell goes over that kind of breaks everything down on where you're at now and where you want to be and why. So I'm going to go through these really quickly just because we go over it more in depth, in a few minutes. So hopefully you can see this. If not, I'm sorry, I'm probably going to read really fast. But level 1 is position. When you're a level 1 in leadership, people follow you because they have to. It's the lowest level of leadership, and it's the type of leadership that comes with a job, right? So you could think of it 2 ways. When you become a manager at your work, bam, you're automatically there because that's your position. It's based off being granted that and not having to earn it. And there's nothing wrong with this. I mean, even a coach, that's kind of the same thing. You have that position, right? You got that name, that's what you are. There's nothing wrong with that. And honestly, a lot of people start here. But everything's wrong with using your position to get people to follow you, because it's a poor substitute for influencing people. When you're here, you're not a leader, you're just a boss. The second less level is permission, and that's people follow you because they want to. It's based on relationships. Your agenda isn't preserving their position. Your position is getting to know people and getting along with them. You kind of find out who you are, then followers find out who their leader is, and you build relationships. Somebody's not muted. Who's not muted? You can like people without leading them, but they can't. But you can like people without leading them, but you can't lead people well without liking them. We're gonna go over these first 2 really in depth today, so don't think this is all I'm telling you. The third is production, and people in this level, people follow you because what you've done for the organization. This level is built on results. So on level 2, you're gaining influence, credibility, and on level 3, you're getting people to follow you for what you've done. When you're in level 3, more work gets done, morale improves, profit goes up, and goals are achieved. Leading becomes fun. But a lot of people get here and they stop. The fourth is people development. This one, people follow you because of what you've done for them. So leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others, right? That is what it's all about. When you're in this position, you are using your position, relationships, productivity to invest in the people. Leaders who are at this level, they reproduce themselves, which means that you're going to be building that team of leaders, which is what you want if you want to be a successful coach. When you are here, 2 things happen. Teamwork goes very high because of high investment in your team and your relationships, and performance increases because there are more leaders on the team. There's a quote production wins games, but people development wins champions. That's what you want to be. We all want to be champions, and to get that, we need to be at least at a level 4. So the 5th and final level is pinnacle. So people follow you because of who you are and what you represent. This is like the highest you could get, right? It requires effort, skill, talent. Level 5 leaders develop level 4 leaders. So if you want those people we just talked about who are like in the game, like creating massive leaders, like having amazing things happen, you need to be a level 5. When you're here, you're going to be able to develop leaders to the point where they're able and willing to develop leaders. That's what you need, guys. I know like a lot of it, we kind of just are like, oh, we're selling challenge packs, we're hitting Success Club, and we're signing up coaches, but we're not creating leaders, and we need to. So insight on leading from the levels. If you want to become an effective leader, you have to master the 5 levels. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm not pulling this out of my butt. I swear to God, like this is from John Maxwell. He knows what he's talking about. So you must learn to recognize where you stand with each person regard of levels. Work to establish your credibility and gain influence where you are and earn your way up to higher levels. If you learn this and live this every day, you'll be able to lead the way successful people do. And that needs to be everybody's goals. So how levels relate. A few things that are important to know as we go into this. You can move up a level, but you never leave a previous level behind. So it's not like you're going to trade things. Like you're not going to be like, oh, I'm level 1 and now like I'm level 3. Okay, well, you're still level 1 and you're level 2. They kind of just build on top of each other. It's like a building process. The second thing, you are not on the same level with every person. Leadership is dynamic and it changes relationship to relationships. Good leaders do not lead everyone the same way because everybody is different and you are not on the same level with every person. For each person that you are talking to or that is on your team, you have to earn your level of leadership with them. And that could vary. I mean, it could go from a 4 to a 1, like just depending. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that too. The higher you go, the easier it is to lead others. And this kind of makes sense, right? So like the more you know and the more you advance your leadership skills, you get more effective with helping other people. If you have limited influence, you limited leadership, greater influence, greater leadership. I feel like this one kind of speaks for itself. 4th, the higher you go, the more time commitment is required to win a level. So obviously going from 1 to 2 is going to be easier than going from 4 to 5. But there is no easy way to the top, and you have to be like more committed. You have to give more. You have to use more energy each time you want to go up, and so did everybody on your team. And I feel like the sooner we recognize this and understand this, the sooner we could start moving forward. And there's a quote, no one achieves anything great by minimum. No teams win championships without making sacrifices and giving it its best. You really have to think about that. Like, I really challenge you guys to sit here after we go through these and kind of think about where you're at now on this ladder and where you want to be. Because, I mean, if you want to be 5, you're going to have to make sacrifices and you're going to have to give it your all to get there, but the rewards are going to be amazing. That's number 6. Moving up occurs slowly, but moving down could happen quickly. Obviously, building takes longer than destroying, right? Which is why it's really important to actually do your personal development, learn about this, and be consistent. The 6th is the higher you go, the greater the return. So obviously, level 2, you're earning trust and the right to lead. Level 3, you're adding productivity. Level 4, you're multiplying that in your organization. And 5, the growth and productivity becomes huge as you add leaders who keep producing. When your productivity is high, chemistry is high, morale is high, momentum is strong, the payoffs increase. We know this, right? Like, when you add leaders to your team, that's where you're going to start building that 6-figure business. That's where you're going to start reaching all your goals. Having a team of leaders is so crucial to being like successful. 7, moving farther up always requires further growth. Again, speaks for itself. Each time you move up, a greater skill is required. Every time you grow, it takes risks. The higher up the ladder, the greater the risk. For example, when you go to 1 to level 2, the leader risks initiating relationships because level 2 is about relationships. When you go to level 2 to level 3, leaders may rally the team to accomplish something only to fail. The leader loses credibility, it stops momentum, and it demotivates team members. From personal experience, guys, this has happened to me, right? Like, I'm like trying to get everybody together and, do something, and then like nobody comes through. But when you start doing this and you start taking these risks, you start developing skills and you will grow from them. You have to take risks, as scary as it is. 8, not climbing the levels limits you and your people. Okay, so say that, you're sitting here thinking right now, like, well, I don't know if this is something I could do. I don't know if I'm a leader. I don't know. Maybe I'm okay at level 2. That's fine because I could just build relationships. First of all, that's not fair to you. Second of all, if you have people on your team, that is not fair to them. Because your effectiveness in getting things done and your ability to work through others is like limited to that, right? And you're showing your team the same thing and they're never going to get to where they want to go if you're not being that leader. So a little fun fact is people always follow leaders stronger than themselves. Like I was just saying, if you stay at a level 4, you're never going to attract leaders stronger than 3. You guys want 4 or 5s on your team, but you need to be that yourself. But the good thing is, whatever you are today, you could change it. 9, when you change positions or organizations, you seldom stay at the same level. So every time you lead a new person, you're starting this process over again. And honestly, when I was reading this, I mean, I'm going to be completely honest and say, like, I didn't. Like, where I felt like I kind of just felt like I was there everywhere, and I didn't really feel like I needed to earn it. But you have to, and it makes total sense. Like, as I read this book, I was just like mind blown. Each time you go through the process, you'll become better at it and you'll get through the levels quicker with that person. I mean, if you mastered all the way to level 5 and you've done it over and over and over with each person you sign up, eventually it's just going to get easier. And you cannot climb the levels alone. If you think you're leading and no one is following, it is because you are just on a walk. Okay. Like, I read that and I was like, oh my God, that's so true. If you're going to succeed as leader, you have to help others follow the ladder too. And that's honestly why I'm doing this call, because I want us all to climb. Like, I don't want to be at 5 and everybody else is at 1. Like, and I feel like it's my role to be able to present this to you guys and kind of open your eyes to what I learned. Okay, so let's go in depth on leadership levels. We're actually only going to do 1 and 2, just because I don't want to keep you guys on a call for 5 hours. So level 1 is position. The upside to this is leadership roles given because of leadership potential. Leadership position means authority is recognized. Leadership position is an invitation to grow as a leader. And leadership position allows potential leaders to shape and define their leadership. I want you guys to kind of think about this as like when you first signed up as a coach. Whoever reached out to you obviously believed that you had potential and that you could do amazing things, right? So you got that title, you got that position because you did sign up. Okay, so when you're in level 1, you need to ask yourself a few things. Who are you? Good leadership starts with leaders knowing who they are. Successful leaders work hard to know themselves. They know their strengths and their weaknesses. They understand their temperament. They know what their personal experience served them well. Know what personal experience knows them well. They know their work habits and which kind of people they will work well with and which kind of people they have to work harder with to appreciate. On a side note with that, there are going to be people that you do not click with who are on your team. This part is about that. It is not people you don't click with, you're not helping. It is people you don't click with, you are going to work harder to click with. When you're here, you have a sense of where you're going to go and how you're going to get there. And as a result, you're going to be more knowing of what you're capable of. Knowing yourself isn't quick or easy, but it is a foundation for being an effective leader. So when you're in this position, you kind of need to know your values, and they're really important. And honestly, guys, if you feel like, well, this isn't my thing because like I'm a number 2 or I'm a number 3, you still need to go back and do this. Your values are the soul of your leadership and they drive your behaviors. So a few values you need to have are 1, your ethical values. What does it mean to you to do the right thing for the right reasons? 2, relationship values. How do you build an environment of trust and respect with others? And 3, success values. What are your goals worth spending your life on? Please like write these down or like screenshot these and actually answer them and post them in the group. And I will post mine as well. So in this position, what do leadership practices do? You must know yourself, your values, and you must live them out. You will not grow as a leader unless you commit to getting out of your comfort zone, right? And you need to write a declaration of commitment to growth that describes what you will do to grow and how to approach it. Sign it, date it, and put it somewhere you see it every day. Guys, this is kind of like your vision board, right? You need to put it out. Think of how you will define your leaderships, your habits, systems, organization, keeping yourself on track, how you'll treat people, the kind of example you want to be. Take it all and then define it to you. So obviously, I mean, your habits and your system, your organization, that's going to be different for everybody, right? Like, I know I'm not very organized. I know there's some people on this team who are super organized, and it's fine. But you need to really sit down and you need to define that to you and have it written out. The downside of position number 1, having a leadership position is misleading because leading is an action, not a position, right? Number 2, leaders who rely on a position to lead often devalue people. So I don't really think of any coaches on this team that remind me of, but for example, I serve a spaghetti factory, and my GM there is a total position manager. That's like how she is. And she is like this. She ignores dreams, desires, goals. And I mean, you don't want to be around people like that. Like, that is no fun for anybody. 3, places rights over responsibility. 4, it's lonely. If you are this person who are like ignoring people's dreams and desires, visions, you're there by yourself. You get branded and stranded. So if you're that coach, you know, nobody's going to want to join with you. They're going to be like, oh, well, that's so-and-so. She's like horrible to work with. She doesn't understand anybody. Turnover is high. People are going to sign up and they are going to quit because you do not value them. And you receive people's least, not their best. So you're not going to be getting your go-getters. You're not going to be getting people who are trying. Instead, you're just going to be getting people who are giving it half-assed just because that's what you're giving them. Best behaviors on level 1. So if you are at this level, please don't feel like ashamed or scared or nervous. It is fine. Most people start here. But here are some things you could do to like change it. Stop relying on position to push people. If you have to tell people you're a leader, you're not a leader. Like, that's something that people know. Trade entitlement for movement. So good leaders do not take anything for granted. They keep working and they keep leading. It's good to remember leadership isn't a right. It is a privilege. People don't have to follow you. You do not have to be people's leaders. 3, leave your position and move towards your people. If you want to grow as a leader, be prepared to be uncomfortable, but trust me, the risks are totally worth the reward. How to move on to level 2. Man, I'm blowing through these. Titles are not enough. Do whatever you have to do to identify less with your title and more with how you contribute to your team. 2, people, not positions, are leaders' most valuable assets. Oh my gosh. People aren't able to get on this. Sorry. People, not positions, are leaders' most valuable assets. So you need to compliment, you need to build relationships, and you need to let them know that you are valued. 3, leaders don't need to have all the answers. If you don't know the answers, it is perfectly okay to admit it and then work on finding it as a team. A good leader always includes others. You cannot be on this alone and be a leader. Okay, level 2 is permission. This one's actually a lot longer, but I really like this one, and I feel like a lot more people are here. So with level 2, you can't lead people until people like you. That's kind of like the motto. In this level, leaders influence people with relationships, not just titles. Building relationship develops a foundation for effectively leading others. It kind of is like people go along with leaders they get along with, right? Like, you click, you want to join them, makes perfect sense. Moving to this level is super important because this is where the followers give you permission to lead them, and that's what you need. So the upside of permission. The first one, leadership permission makes work more enjoyable, right? When you click with somebody, it doesn't just make it like 500 times better. You like them, they like you. It's not me, it's we, you know. People don't have to do things they actually want to. It's a lot better. Opens channels of communication. So you're actually listening to people, they're listening to you. And then when this starts happening, it kind of goes into level 3, like the energy increases. So you're not spending people, okay, wait. So do you have people in your life where like you talk to them and you just feel so drained, right? Like, and you just get off the phone and you're just like, oh my God, like, what was that? Because I have no energy left. When you're here, you're not going to have that with your team, because it's going to be so full of energy and positive vibes that you're going to leave feeling like energized, not drained, which is what we need. 4 is you're going to be focusing on the value of each person. Level 2 is completely relationship driven. Nothing lifts a person more than being respected and valued. I'm sure you guys all can relate to that, because I know I can. Evaluation time. Same thing. Please screenshot this or write these down. If you have people on your team, if you do not have people on your team, make it about your upline. What 3 non-business things do you know about this person? 2, what does this person value? 3, what are this person's top 3 concerns? And 4, what does this person want or hope for in life? Leaders on this team, if you have your downlines, you need to be able to answer this. I could honestly 100% say that I could probably answer at least 1 or 2 of these questions for everybody, but I don't know if I could answer these questions for every single person on this team. And because of that, like, I have to work on it. And so I need you guys to send them to me so we could chat, because I do. And because I really feel like it's important for us as leaders to know this about everybody who's on our team. 5, leadership permission nurtures trust. So when you have integrity with people, you develop trust, guys, like common sense, right? Trust is the complete foundation of this level. The more you trust, the more trust, the stronger relationships get. The better the relationship, the greater for potential for a leader to gain permission to lead, which is what this is all about. Trust is required for people to feel safe enough to create, share, question, attempt, and risk. So when you're lacking trust with your team, your leadership is weak. And when that happens, teamwork is impossible and it just will not work. The downside of permission, it appears soft to some people. So there's some people who lead differently, right? There's some people who aren't about relationships. They're just about like work, and getting things done. And then you're over here building relationships with your team and they're like, well, why are you spending time doing that? Honest, I mean, I've had this said about me, because when there's a lot of times I talk to a lot of you guys, like all the time, and some leaders just feel like, oh, well, like you need to be focused and it's not 100% important to build that relationship like that. Like you don't need to be that like much into that. That didn't make any sense. I'm so tired. I can't talk. But you guys get what I mean. It's not weak, guys. For you to build relationships with people, it is essential. Like, do not think of it as weakness at all. The second downside is it could be frustrating for achievers. So if you're like a go-getter and you're just like, no, like I just want to hit Success Club and I just want to like do this and reach all my goals and I don't want to build these relationships. It's frustrating, right? To sit down and actually focus on building relationships, but it needs to be done. The third, you could be taken advantage of at this state. I'm sure you guys know that some people mistake kindness for weakness. They believe that encouragement means they don't have to respect boundaries, and they assume that they have the freedom to do whatever they want. Okay, so we have 10 minutes, and then we're going to log off and log back on if we're not done. So there's 4 different kinds of people that you'll kind of notice as you're talking to people. The first ones are takers. So they leverage relationship to better themselves, but not you or anybody else. They borrow your influence, and you get nothing in return. I know I've dealt with those. I'm sure you guys have as well. Developers leverage the relationship in a way bettering themselves and you. Fine, right? It's always good for that. Acquaintances are content to live off the relationship with you, benefiting from successes, but never contributing or taking responsibilities to grow themselves. And the fourth is friends. They enjoy your relationship with you, returning goodwill, and never taking or unfair advantage. So when you're having relations with people, you're taking a risk, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to find a taker, if you're going to find a developer. But there is always a chance that you're going to create this deep, rewarding relationship. And when you create that, it's not only going to help your life and enrich it, but it's also going to do the same as others. So again, it comes down to taking that risk, but the risk is worth the reward. 4, it requires openness to be effective. In this call, I've admitted a lot of mistakes that I've done, especially realizing through reading this book, but most people don't want to do that. You know, it's scary to admit that you messed up or that you have faults or flaws. But honestly, you cannot build authentic relationships without it. So you need to admit your mistakes, you need to own your faults, and you need to be real. The 5th, it is difficult for people who are not naturally likable. I believe everybody in this team is naturally likable. Just in case, if this is you, then you need to look for something you like about every person you meet and discover what is likable about you. You need to make the effort every day to express what you like about every person in your life. I mean, it really comes down to like personal development almost, you know what I mean? You need to practice these things in and day out. And eventually people will like you and you'll become more likable. You'll like yourself more and it'll just be better. So when you're in this phase, one of the downsides is it forces you to be with the whole person. So, you know, everybody has their faults, and then some people are crazy, and some people are sad all the time, and some people are happy all the time, and some people chat a lot like me. And, you know, it's kind of hard because, like, as a leader, some people just want to deal with you on, like, business terms only, right? Like, they don't want to know your life. They don't want to know your drama. But the reality is when you lead somebody and you're their leader, you're getting, like, that whole person. So you need to accept that. Like if that person is a crazy person sometimes, then you need to accept it. If they are a crybaby sometimes, just accept it. They're chatterbox like me, just accept it. This part is really important, and I'm really glad I put it on here, and I want you guys to kind of take it in. But as a leader, you'll be tempted to build relationships with only people you like or compatible with and ignore the others. However, by doing that, you have the potential to lose a lot of people. Good leaders deal with these differences and lever them for success of the team. They understand conflict is a part of the process. They don't avoid problems, they solve them. The bottom line, most of the downfalls in level 2 come from dealing with people. If you care about people and understand them, then you will expect things to not go smoothly. Yes, not go smoothly. Because if you go in with that expectation, it frees you to lead with a positive and open mind because you know that as long as you have a pulse, you are dealing with a messy and difficult situation. When you go in like that, guys, it's going to make everything so much easier. It's kind of like going for no, right? So if you start all your conversations and you're talking to people and you're, you know, going for your no and you're emotionally detached from what they respond, then when things happen and people say no and people ignore you, it's not that bad. Right? You're just like, okay, well, you know, that kind of sucks, but whatever, I'm going to move on and find my yes. It's the same thing as a leader. Guys, expect it to be crazy. I mean, we're all people. A lot of us are women. I don't know if you guys don't know what happens when you get a whole bunch of women together, but sometimes crazy things happen, right? Like hormones are all over the place. Expect it to be that way because then when it's that way, it's not going to be as crazy. Okay, I'm going to stop here for the first part because I feel like it's at a good spot to stop and restart. Whoa! There's way more people than when I left. Okay, wow. Okay, guys, I'm going to take a picture of you, and then we're going to get back on. See cheese, just in case everybody decides not to come back on. You guys are so lucky I actually give you a chance. Okay, so Jess, we have like 3 minutes left on this team call, right? So log out, wait 3 minutes, log back in. Okay, I'll see you in 3 minutes.